Imagine this. You're heading out to buy a simple loaf of bread, but instead of a few coins, you're pushing a wheelbarrow overflowing with cash. Sounds absurd, right? But this was the grim reality for people in Weimar Germany in 1923 and in Zimbabwe in 2008. Welcome back to Common Investors. Today we're taking a deep dive into one of the most terrifying economic phenomena, hyperinflation. We'll explore these historical nightmares not just to look back in horror, but to pull out crucial lessons that can protect your wealth right now in the shaky financial system of 2025. What happens when the money in your pocket becomes virtually worthless overnight? How does a government's printing press become a weapon of mass financial destruction? Stick with us, because understanding these stories is key to safeguarding your financial future. First, let's travel back to post-World War I Germany. The Weimar Republic was saddled with immense war reparations, a debt so colossal it seemed impossible to pay. The government's solution? Fire up the printing presses. They printed more and more marks to cover their expenses. Initially, it seemed like an easy fix. But soon, the sheer volume of money flooding the economy started a death spiral. Prices began to rise, slowly at first, then exponentially. By the peak in November 1923, prices were doubling every few days. Workers demanded to be paid twice a day, rushing to spend their wages before they lost value by dinner time. A postage stamp that cost a few pfennigs before the war now cost billions of marks. Life savings, pensions, bonds, all wiped out. The middle class was decimated. People burned banknotes for heat because it was cheaper than buying firewood. This wasn't just an economic crisis. It was a societal collapse that tore apart the very fabric of German life. The trust in money, in the government, in the future itself, was gone. Now let's fast forward to the 21st century and jump to Zimbabwe. In the early 2000s, controversial land reform policies led to a catastrophic collapse in agricultural output, which was the backbone of the economy. In response to the economic crisis and to fund its spending, Robert Mugabe's government did the exact same thing as Weimar Germany. They printed money, a lot of it. The result was hyperinflation on a scale that is almost impossible to comprehend. By November 2008, the monthly inflation rate hit an estimated 79.6 billion%. The government kept issuing new banknotes with more and more zeros. First a $100 million note, then a $100 billion note, and finally the infamous $100 trillion banknote. And what could that buy you? At its peak, barely enough for a bus ticket into town. Prices were changing so rapidly that supermarkets stopped putting price tags on shelves. You'd pick up an item, and the price would have increased by the time you got to the checkout. People abandoned the Zimbabwean dollar altogether, resorting to barter or using foreign currencies like the US dollar or the South African rand. Once again, a nation's wealth was erased, not by war or natural disaster, but by the very authority meant to protect it. So, what are the common threads here? In both Weimar Germany and Zimbabwe, we see a government facing huge financial pressure, resorting to the printing press as a solution. This massive increase in the money supply, without a corresponding increase in economic production, is the classic recipe for hyperinflation. It's a fundamental violation of the laws of supply and demand. When the supply of money skyrockets, its value plummets. Your money becomes worth less and less, meaning you need more of it to buy the same things. This erodes savings, destroys investment, and shatters public trust in financial institutions. It shows that money is ultimately a social contract, an agreement that it holds value. When a government breaks that trust by recklessly devaluing its currency, the entire system falls apart. These stories aren't just historical footnotes. They are stark warnings about the fragility of fiat currency and the dangers of unchecked government spending. So, how do we turn these horror stories into actionable wisdom? This brings us to our 3 crucial investing lessons for navigating today's uncertain economic landscape. Lesson number 1. Diversify beyond your local currency. The biggest mistake people in Weimar Germany and Zimbabwe made was holding all their wealth in cash and local currency bonds. When hyperinflation hit, it all became worthless. Today, that means considering assets that are not tied to the fate of a single currency. This could include investing in stable foreign currencies or in international stocks through ETFs that give you exposure to global companies. The goal is to not have all your eggs in one national basket. If your home currency falters, other parts of your portfolio can hold their ground, acting as a vital buffer. It's about building a financial fortress with walls in different countries. Lesson number 2. Own real, tangible assets. What holds value when paper money becomes paper? Things you can touch. Things that have intrinsic utility or scarcity. In both historical examples, people who owned real estate, productive farmland, or physical businesses fared much better than those with cash savings. These are hard assets. In a modern portfolio, this means considering real estate, whether it's your own home or investment properties. It also means owning commodities, particularly precious metals like gold and silver. For centuries, gold has been a reliable store of value during times of currency crisis. It's not about getting rich off gold, it's about preserving the wealth you already have. When faith in paper money evaporates, people flock back to assets that have been trusted for millennia. Having a portion of your portfolio in these hard assets provides a powerful anchor against the storms of inflation. And finally, lesson number 3, which is perhaps the most important in our modern age. Invest in yourself and in productive businesses. Your greatest asset is your own earning power. Skills, knowledge, and your ability to adapt are inflation-proof. Continue to learn, upgrade your professional skills, and maybe even build a side hustle. This creates income streams that are not solely dependent on a single employer or economic condition. Beyond yourself, invest in quality businesses. We're talking about companies with strong balance sheets, pricing power, and global demand for their products or services. Think of the brands you use every day, the ones that could raise their prices without losing all their customers. These companies can pass on inflationary costs and protect their profit margins, making their stock a good hedge. Owning a piece of a resilient, productive enterprise is owning a claim on future real economic output, which is the ultimate source of wealth. So, as we look at the world in 2025, with governments everywhere carrying massive debts and central banks navigating a tricky post-pandemic economy, these lessons are more relevant than ever. We're not saying hyperinflation is right around the corner for major economies, but the principles of sound money and prudent investing remain timeless. By diversifying your currency exposure, owning real assets, and investing in productive businesses and yourself, you're not just preparing for the worst-case scenario. You're building a robust, resilient financial plan that can thrive in a wide range of economic futures. You are taking control of your financial sovereignty. The stories of Weimar Germany and Zimbabwe are a chilling reminder that financial security can be fleeting. But by learning from their history, we can build a stronger, safer future for ourselves and our families. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. I hope it provided some valuable perspective. If you found this helpful and want more tips on building wealth and navigating economic challenges, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss our next video. We'd love to have you as part of the Common Investors community. Drop a comment below with your thoughts or any questions you have. Stay safe and invest wisely.